is the new Range Rover Sport autobiography, and it's got it all. It looks good, it's powerful, it has modern technology, great off-road capability, completely redesigned from the old model with a new exterior and interior, and it's expensive. This one has a sticker price of over $100,000. Today, I'm going to review the new Range Rover Sport autobiography and show you all of its quirks and features. Today's video is brought to you by Cars and Bids, my online enthusiast car auction site that recently sold this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Check it out at carsandbids.com. All right, time for a thorough review of the Range Rover Sport, starting with an overview. So, the new Rover Sport, the third generation model, was redesigned for the 23 model year. I still haven't done a full review of the new Sport. I did a walk around when it was first announced about 2 years ago, but I wanted to do a full review, get behind the wheel, and check out its quirks and features. So, let's start with pricing. This is, well, expensive. A Range Rover Sport starts around $86,000, which makes it one of the most expensive vehicles in its segment. The closest competitor is probably the Porsche Cayenne, which starts in the low to mid $80,000 range. But of course, the Cayenne focuses more on sport and performance and luxury, while the Range Rover Sport is more off-road capability with some performance and luxury. By comparison, a BMW X5, which is a competitor to this, starts in the mid $60,000 range. So this and the Cayenne are a lot more expensive. So let's talk quirks and features, starting outside with the design, which has been greatly modernized and sharpened compared to the outgoing Range Rover Sport. You take a look at the old Sport, you can see it has a fairly similar profile and overall shape to the new model, but the new version has just been sculpted, massaged, changed, just enough to look both different and newer and more modern. And Land Rover has really put a focus on minimalism with the exterior design in this car. There's no extraneous lines or scoops or things you might have found 10 years ago in the design. It's all very simple and restrained. A few interesting examples. One, you can see the windows come directly to the body on the doors on the side of the car, which is really cool. There's not even a rubber gasket there. It's just window to door. They're trying to make it as simple as possible. Same deal with the door handles, which when the car is locked, they're flush with the body for a simpler, more aerodynamic shape. And I especially love around back, where the Range Rover Sport has been changed the most in its new version. You can see a new rear end design, but it almost doesn't look like it has bumpers at all back here. It's very nice, massaged, modernist look all around this car. With that said, one obnoxious drawback, when you unlock the doors and open them, this projection comes from the mirrors. It's supposed to be an image of the new Range Rover Sport. Land Rover does it on all of its cars. Personally, I think it's a bit much. A lot of brands do this. It's always a bit much. It's a little over the top. But aside from that, you really do have to give them credit for the minimalist luxury look in this car, and you can see more of it in back. The rear wiper is not anywhere to be found mounted on the rear window. This is a signature Land Rover hallmark. It's mounted below the rear spoiler, and so you don't actually see it when you look to the back of the car. It's hidden, which looks great. And also in back, just like on the sides, the window comes right down to the body. There's no rubber gasket in between like on most other cars, and it looks very modern, very fresh, almost concept car-like in its minimalist luxury simplicity. But anyway, next we climb into the new Range Rover Sport, and you're greeted on the door sill by Autobiography. Illuminated, looks nice. That's the trim level of this Range Rover Sport, one of Land Rover's top luxury trims. You move past the door sill and you quickly discover that the interior also has a significant minimalist focus, and there are some really clear examples of that. Probably the best is in the center control stack. Take a look at the climate controls, where you have these two dials that incorporate several different functions in one. In their normal state, you twist them to change the climate control temperature, but if you pull the dial, it will change the fan speed of the climate control system. If you push the dial, it will turn on the heated seats, switch it to the right, or the cooled seats, switch it to the left. This allows Land Rover to integrate 3 different functions into one single dial, so they don't have to have several buttons for all these features. The The goal is to reduce interior clutter. Here's another good example of integrating controls to cut down on clutter. The power seat controls. They're on the doors. You can see there's a seat back and a seat bottom like most cars, and inside the power seat controls are your memory buttons, which you can tap in order to put the steering wheel where you want it. That's a very cool idea. The seats, the memory, they're already basically the same type of thing, so why not integrate them into one control and cut down on all this stuff? And there are several other interesting controls in here beyond the minimalist stuff, some rather quirky ones. One is the gear selector, which isn't that unusual, but still worth noting. It's this stubby little thing. You put your hand on top, press a button, and then push forward for reverse. You pull down for drive, and then park is a little button next to the gear selector. Now, right near there, you have the drive mode dial. You can see here, you twist it to go into, well, your various drive modes. No real surprise there. The interesting part is if you push it down, it goes into an automatic drive mode, and then the car senses what you're trying to do, sport mode, off-road, terrain, whatever, and it will do it for you, or push it up, and you can manually select. And next up, another interesting quirk in here, the rear view mirror, which you can see is a rear view mirror. You flip this switch and it becomes a camera showing what's behind you, which is a great feature. With a mirror, you gotta look through the whole back of the car. With a camera, you don't. You just see what's directly behind you. And how about this for a neat trick? The steering wheel buttons can change what they show and what they do. Take a look at this. Over on the left, this pad will change what it's displaying and how it functions depending on what screen you're on in the gauge cluster. Depending on what you're adjusting, this pad changes. It's kind of a neat party trick that it can do multiple things depending on what's lit up in that moment. Pretty cool. And how about this? There is a hidden storage compartment and a rather large one. You got the center console here. You open up the center console lid, you got storage. In front of that, you open up this lid and you have cup holders. Pretty standard. But you can push the cup holders back and you have an extra storage compartment below the cup holders that probably most people would never find out about. You can keep your hidden items down there. And speaking of hidden items, how about this? Directly below the center screen, you have your wireless phone charger. It's right here. You would not expect it to be there. You don't even really see it from the driver or passenger seats, but it's there. A nice little place you can slide in your phone instead of something that dominates the center control stack, like in some cars. And how about this? You got two glove boxes. You can open them with the buttons here. One up arrow, one down. Up arrow obviously opens the upper glove box, as you can see, and the down arrow opens the lower glove box. That adds some extra storage and practicality in this interior. In the lower glove box, you will note that we have the window sticker, which has a $110,000 sticker price, as you can see, but also an interesting item. This interior is leather-free. Land Rover offers this as an option. It's $1,400 for the interior and an extra $300 for a leather-free steering wheel. So around $2,000 to go fully leather-free. For people who don't want cow hides, animal products in their interiors, you can do it in this car. And next up, we move on to the infotainment system, this large screen in the center of the interior, which has its pros and cons, although mostly pros. I generally like this infotainment system. I think it's got a lot of good stuff, but if you